Hey everyone and welcome. In this lesson, we are going to get started in beginning to learn HTML. Now, before we jump straight into coding and writing out our websites, we first of all need our IDE, our Integrated Development Environment. And this is a program or a service where we can write down our code, run it, and be able to see the result. Okay, now there are a number of different methods for doing this, which we'll be going through in this lesson. The first thing you do need though is a web browser that is adequate enough for web development, okay? So if you are using something such as Internet Explorer or one of the default operating systems, I recommend you do go ahead and get something like Google Chrome or Mozilla Firefox, okay? As these are web browsers which are very powerful and which also have integrated developer consoles, which allow us to basically have a much more refined control over our websites and see a lot more of the back-end data and information that may be useful in web development. Okay. Now, along with a web browser, you also need your IDE software, which is where we actually write the code. Okay. Now, there are a large number of HTML IDEs out there on the internet. You can, of course, do your own research on these, but there are a few that we do recommend. And the first one here is Atom, which is supported on Windows and Mac computers. We then have Brackets over here, which is another great alternative. We have Notepad++, we have Sublime Text, and we have Visual Studio Code. Now, we have all those IDEs there, but for this course, we aren't going to be using an IDE like so. And the reason why is because with this course, we just want to jump straight into learning how to code in HTML. And to do that, we are going to use a cloud-based IDE called REPL.it, okay, REPL.it. And with REPL.it, it basically allows you to jump straight into coding straight away. You have your code on the left, you have your output on the right, and you don't have to install any software, okay? So that is the reason why we are using our cloud-based software. We aren't affiliated with REPL.it in any way. And an alternative to this sort of cloud-based programming is JSBin, which works in a very similar way. So over here on REPL.it, what we want to do is first of all click on the Start Coding button down here. Okay, we'll click on this button and then it's going to prompt us to log in. Now you can create an account here with REPL.it, or you can log in with a Google, GitHub, or Facebook account. Okay, I recommend doing this as it's probably the quickest way in getting into the service. So I'm going to log in with my Google account and I'll be right back once that's complete. Okay, so once you're logged in, you want to go to the top left where it says plus new REPL up here. You want to click on that, and now we can choose our language. Okay, which coding language do we want to choose? Well, for us, we want to choose HTML, CSS, and JavaScript right here, all in one. So we'll select that. We can then give our project a name. I'm going to call this one HTML intro, and then we can click create REPL down here. Okay, and this is going to create our brand new project. Now, once this opens up, you'll see that there is some example code here in the center. We don't need to worry about that just yet, as I understand that this may be very confusing. There's lots of stuff here, but hopefully by the end of the course, you'll have a good understanding of what each line of this code here does. So first of all, here in the center, we have our coding window where we have the ability to write down code and edit code. Over here on the right hand side, we have our web page output, okay? So when we click on this run button at the top here, this is where we are going to see our website appear. Down below this, we have a console. Now this is only for JavaScript and not HTML, so we won't be worrying about this throughout the course. And on the left hand side, we have the files panel where we can see all of the different files inside of our project here. So in this lesson, what we're going to do is basically try and display some text on our web page. Okay, so to begin, I'm going to select all of this code here inside of our code editor, and I'm going to backspace to delete it. Okay, we don't want any code there to start off with. Let's start nice and simple. And all I'm going to do is write down hello world. You can write whatever you want here. When you write code like this, or when you write text, I mean, inside of your HTML document and click the run button, you'll see that it gets displayed on screen right here. Okay, this is our web output. This is where we are going to be seeing our website whenever we write down HTML in this document here. If you do want this in a brand new tab, maybe you want to make it a much bigger window, you can click on this button at the top right corner where it says open in new tab, and it's going to open it up in a brand new tab inside of your browser. Okay, you can of course undock this, move this around to wherever you wish. But we are going to be working inside of this screen right here, just so it's a lot more easier and accessible if we have everything on screen at the same time. Okay, and you can of course resize these windows if you wish. If you hover over the center, you can click and drag to move these windows. So maybe you want a much bigger screen like this, but I'm going to keep it about that. You can of course also move down the console since we won't necessarily be needing it. And yeah, there we go. So in the next lesson, we are going to begin looking at tags in HTML, more specifically how we can get some titles set up inside of our websites. Okay, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next lesson. Welcome back everyone. In this lesson, we are going to be looking at tags inside of HTML. Now in HTML, tags is how we actually structure our code and structure our website, okay? A tag can allow us to basically define where we want a header text, where we want a link, where we want an image, where we want to place a video or a GIF inside of our website, where we want to sort of separate individual segments. So tags are very versatile, and we'll be looking at a large number of different tags throughout this course. So first of all, what is a tag and how do we actually set it up? Okay, what is the structure of a tag itself? Well, a tag has 3 different parts, and I think the best way to imagine it is like a sandwich, okay? With a sandwich, you have bread on the top and bottom, and in the middle, you have the contents of the sandwich or the contents of the tag. So this example tag here, H1, is a header, and this basically gives us bold, larger font size text that we can use as a website header or a header of a paragraph, for example. So this works with an opening tag, the contents, and then a closing tag. You can see that the opening tag basically has 2 angled brackets with the name of the tag in the middle. Then we have the contents between the 2 opening and closing tags right here. And then we have to close it off, okay? You got to make sure that whenever you open up a tag inside of HTML, you are always closing it as well. And then you close it by basically doing the exact same thing as opening it, but putting a slash before the tag name, okay? And this basically tells your computer, okay, we are opening up a tag here, this is what we want the contents to be, and now we are closing this tag. So let's now have a look at how we can create a header tag, okay? So right here we have our hello world text. I'm going to select that and delete it. And what we're going to do is replace this with our header. So to do this, I'm going to first of all create an opening angle bracket right here. Now in REPL.it, you can see there are a large number of different tags inside of this pop-up window that we can select from, but we're going to write out H1 for header 1. And then we have to close that intro tag off with another angled bracket. So we are encapsulating the name of the tag within these angled brackets here. Now on the right hand side of this tag, of the opening tag, we need to enter in the contents. Okay, what do we want to have the header tag applied to it? So let's just say this is a header. Okay, this is the text we're going to write. Now we need to close off this header. So I'm going to do an angled bracket here, then do /H1, and then close that off with another angled bracket. Okay, so this is the structure of the header tag. We can then click on the run button, and you'll see here that we now have text, but it looks a bit different, okay? The font size is larger, and it is in bold. So that is the header 1 tag right here. Now, along with the header 1 tag, it says there's a 1, that means there must be a header 2 tag. And the header 2 tag is basically similar to the header 1, but it has a smaller font size, and these can be used for things such as subcategories or subheaders within a website. So to do that, we can just go H2 as an opening tag. And what I like to do is actually create my tags first. So we have the opening tag, and then I create the closing tag here, and then go in and fill in the contents of the tag here. So I can then go, this is a subheader, for example. Click on the run button, and now we can see our text right here. We have, this is a header, and this is a subheader, okay? And you can see that the font size is a bit smaller. And of course, we have a H3 tag for header 3. And I want you to go ahead right now and create yourselves a header 3 tag just underneath the existing 2 right here. Okay, and there we go. So we've got our H3 tag here. I've written some text in between the opening and closing tags, and you can see here in our preview window, it says this is an even smaller header in even smaller text. So that is the basics of tags inside of HTML. Okay, it follows a 3-step process. You have your opening tag here, you have your contents of the tag, in our case it is text that we're writing out, and then you have a closing tag. Okay, whenever you're opening up a tag, you always have to close it. If you don't close it and then you start opening up other tags, the attributes of that tag will also be applied to whatever you are writing afterwards, okay? And it can look quite messy if you do forget to close up a tag, so always keep that in mind, okay? Thank you for watching, and in the next lesson, we are going to be looking at paragraphs, okay? Creating content underneath our headers. So I'll see you all then in the next lesson. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the course. In this lesson, we are going to be looking at setting up paragraphs and new lines inside of our HTML code. Now, one important concept that you need to understand before going ahead is that the way that we write our code, the way that we lay it out inside of the code editor right here, is mainly there for us in order to make it readable, okay? So as you can see here, we have this line and then this line on individual lines. And that is reflected over here inside of our resulting website. So it may be intuitive to think, okay, the fact that we have these on new lines means that it's going to have new lines over in our website. Well, that's not the case. Let's just say we want to put web development and HTML, these 2 headers, on the same line. Well, I can do that right here. Okay, and I'll click run, but you'll see that it's not on the same line, okay? They're on separate lines. And the reason why is because in HTML, whenever we're creating a new tag right here, it's pretty much going, okay, this is a new segment of the screen. We're going to have our contents here. And then whenever we create a new HTML tag, it's going to go, okay, new line, this is what we're going to be displaying. Now, we are only putting these on new lines, and we're only doing indentation with other tags to make it more readable for us as humans, okay? So this here is much more readable than something like this. And then when you have thousands of tags inside of your code right here, you do want to make sure that it is easily readable, okay, on new lines, indentation. But at the end of the day, when we click the run button, the computer is not looking at what's on which line, okay? We could have spaces in between these 2 lines like so, hit run, and it's going to result in the exact same website. So let's now have a look at paragraphs. Now, right now we've learned that, okay, if we want text to be displayed on our screen, we can just start writing text out inside of HTML, such as I want to learn coding, and then we can also enter in on a new line here some other text, and realistically, from what we've seen so far, we should have these on different lines, okay? So we'll click run, but as you'll see, it is all on one single line right here. So the reason why is because what we're doing here is not encapsulating these inside of tags, okay? We are writing out code, and basically from the browser's perspective, this is all one line of code, okay? Remember, there is no such thing to the computer such as spaces or new lines, okay? The computer does not understand that, okay? This is only for us. So basically writing this out here is the exact same as writing out something like this, okay? This new line here is not being recognized by the computer as it sees everything just as one big clump of text. So how do we create 2 new lines of normal text? Well, for that, we can use the paragraph tag, okay? Just like with our headers here, we can create ourselves an opening tag. So angle bracket, and for a paragraph, we're going to go P, our closing bracket here, and then we need our closing tag at the end, /P, and that is going to create ourselves a new paragraph line. We can do the exact same for the second line here. So /P to close that off. Hit run, and you'll see that we now have these on 2 individual lines, okay? And the paragraph tag is basically where we can write text and display that to the screen in a much more controlled format rather than just typing it out like we were doing before, okay? So that is the paragraph tag inside of HTML. And in the next lesson, we are going to be looking at something that most websites have, and that is links. Okay, we might want to have a link to a different web page, a different website even, and these are going to be very important and very powerful for your websites. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next lesson. Hey everyone, and welcome back. In this lesson, we are going to be looking at the link tag, okay? And the link tag is very important and very powerful inside of HTML. It can allow us to link to different web pages within our own website, or we can use it to link the user to an external website if you want to guide them over there. So, in our example here, we are going to be making it so that Zenva right here is going to be clickable. Okay, on our website, we can hover over and click on it to open up the zenva.com website. So how are we going to do this? Well, first of all, I'm going to make it not say zenva.com. Instead, I'm going to make it just say Zenva, since we don't need the .com, as that's going to be automatically done for us when we go over to it. So on this Zenva text right here, what we're going to do is encapsulate it within a tag called A. So here I'm going to do an opening bracket, go A, and then do a closing bracket called A as well. Now, something you may notice is that we are doing tags within tags, and this is something you can do in HTML. Okay, we have a paragraph tag here, which is encapsulating all of this text here, and then we have a link tag, which is encapsulating this text here. And so Zenva has both the link tag properties and the paragraph tag properties applied to it. Okay, we could also do a link up here in the header, so we have a bold and larger link. So we have our link right here. Let's click run, and as you can see, when we click on Zenva, nothing happens. And the reason why is because we haven't told the link to link anywhere at all. Okay, right now we have the link tags, but it's not doing anything. Okay, it doesn't know where it wants to take us. So we have to tell it where we want to go. And the way to do this is by assigning the tag an attribute. Now in HTML, we can give tags attributes, which is basically like telling a tag some more information. Okay, telling the tag information that it needs in order to apply to the website. Now, in our case for a link, we need to give it a link attribute, okay? We need to basically tell this tag where we want to navigate to when this is clicked. And to do this, we need to create a attribute called href, okay? And this is basically a linking site. We then go equals, and then in quotation marks, we enter in the website we want to link to. So for this here, I'm going to go to our opening a tag, our opening link tag. I'm going to do a space, and then I'm going to go href equals, and then in two quotation marks here, we enter in the name or the URL of the website, okay? What URL do we want to navigate to? And in our case, we're going to go to zenva.com, so I'm going to go https://zenva.com, okay? And this right here is linking this link right here to zenva.com. We can click the run button, and what you'll see is on our website now, we have a bluish sort of text with an underline. And this is basically a definition of a link, okay? When users see this, they'll go, oh, that is a link, I can click on that. And when we hover over it, you can see that the pointer turns into the clickable icon. So we can click on this, and it is going to navigate us to zenva.com, okay? In this preview window here, we are opening up the zenva.com website. Now in REPL.it right here, to go back to the previous website or to go back to our website, we can just right click and click on where it says back, okay? And it's going to take us back to our website. So now we have working links within our website, okay? We can link to different websites. If we want to have a list of, my favorite websites or the best learning resources, we can create a website just like that. Now, let's just say you want to give the user more information about where you are leading them to when they click a link, okay? And what we can do with that is by creating a title attribute within our A tag right here. And tags can have multiple attributes. So after we are defining href right here, I'm going to do a space, go title equals, and then within two quotation marks, we are going to give it a title. And for this, I'm going to go learn programming, okay? We can then run that, and on the surface, everything looks the exact same, but look what happens when we hover over the Zenva link. you'll see it pops up with a little sort of preview text saying learn programming. And that is what a title is as an attribute to a link tag. So if you maybe have a list of various different links, you might want to give the user more information about where they are going or what they could potentially find on that website. And that is what you can do with a title attribute. Okay, so we're able to link to external websites, but what if we want to link to another web page within our very own website? Well, first of all, we need to create ourselves a new page. And to do that, we can go over here to the top left corner of the screen where it says add file. I'm going to click on that. And then I'm going to call this one, let's just say new page.html. You do have to add that .html extension at the end in order for this file to know that it is a HTML file. Hit enter, and we have created our new page right here. So on this page here, I'm just going to type something simple, just such as this is a new page. Okay, we're just using this as an example in order to see, okay, how do we switch to a new page? I'm going to go back to index.html, which is our default page here, and I'm going to create a brand new link on a new line. Let's create a new paragraph tag right here. And inside of this paragraph tag, we're just going to have text that says link to another page. And we are going to make where it says another page a link tag. So just like before, we need to create the A opening tag and the A closing tag in order to create a link. And then remember that if we do want to actually link somewhere, we need to enter in the href attribute. So after A, I'm going to go href equals, and instead of going http or www, all we need to do is basically write out the file name. Okay, if you do have subfolders, you do have to enter in those folder directories, but we've made it nice and simple for us. We have our new page here in the exact same folder. So all we need to do is in 2 quotation marks, just go new page.html. Okay, click run, and then you'll see here we have the link to another page, a link right here. We can click on that, and it is going to take us to our new page. This is a new page. We can right click, go back here, and yeah, that is how we can link to new pages within our very own website. Let's quickly go over what we've learned. We've created the A tag here, which is a link that we can navigate to either an external website with the href attribute, or we can link to an internal web page with the href attribute as well. Okay, we've also looked at the title attribute, which is applied when we hover over the link, and it gives us a bit more information about what we're about to click. And yep, so basically links are these very powerful things that you can use pretty much in many different circumstances on your website. So thanks for watching, and in the next lesson we're going to be looking at how we can create some images here on our website. So I'll see you all then in the next lesson. Hey everyone, and welcome back. In this lesson we are going to be looking at how we can include images on our website. Right now, we just have a pretty bland white background with black text right here. So adding in some images will be really good in telling the users what our website is about and what they can get from here. So how do we include images on our website? Well, first of all, we need to add the image file to our files over here on the left-hand side. And to do that, I'm going to click on these 3 dots right here and go where it says upload file. And here we can choose pretty much any file to add to our website contents. So I'm going to choose this background image right here, which you can download from the course files tab. Just simply download that zip file, extract it, and the background image is going to be in the corresponding lesson folder. So you can get that right there. So when we open this up, I'm just going to select it, then click on open to add this to our files list. And you can see here, we now have the background.png added to our files. So how do we actually add this image to our website? Well, we're going to be using an image tag, okay? The image tag, simply you set up the tags and then you have an attribute which links to the corresponding image you want to display. Similar to with a link here, as you can see, we have a link attribute or the href attribute, which is linking us to the website or the web page that we want to navigate to. An image tag is going to link to the image file that we want to display. So just underneath where it says I want to learn to code, or I want to learn coding, I'm going to put in some spaces, and just like before I mentioned, you can have as many new lines as you wish, and the computer won't recognize it, so you can pretty much lay it out however you wish. And inside of here, I'm going to do the img tag like so, okay? So make sure to close that tag as well. And if we run this, nothing happens. And the reason why, of course, is because we are not linking an image to display. So to do this, we need to add the source attribute. And to do this, I'm going to go src for source equals, and then in 2 quotation marks, we need to link the background.png image. And just like we've done down here with linking the new page link, we are just going to go background.png. Okay, make sure you do add the file extension at the end so it knows what type of file it is. Okay, we can click run, and there we go. We have our image displayed on screen right here. Now, something that may be bothering you, or something that you may have in the back of your mind, is the fact that with our image tag right here, unlike all of the other tags we've created so far, the image tag has no contents necessarily, okay? And by content, I mean the stuff that goes in between the opening and closing tag, okay? We are only giving it a source attribute, which is telling it what image to display on screen. Now, we don't need to type anything in here in between the 2 tags because we don't want any text corresponding with the image, okay? We just want the image. So in this case, we can do something known as a self-closing tag. And a self-closing tag is where we only have the opening tag here. We do not need the closing tag here. Now that contradicts what I mentioned before, where I said you always need to open and close your tag. And how a self-closing tag works is that we can remove the closing tag here, but instead of having no closing tag, we sort of add that on to the end of the opening tag. So here at the end of the opening tag, I'm just going to do a slash like that, and this is now a self-closing tag. Okay, we can click run, and as you can see, the exact same website appears. Now, self-closing tags, of course, aren't really that good if you want to have paragraphs or any sort of text elements, but if you do have something such as an image where you don't really have any content per se for that tag, you can create a self-closing tag. And these are very useful later on when we start introducing more tags which don't necessarily have any text contents. Okay, you're only really adding in attributes here which don't need to be in between the opening and closing tags. Now, let's look at another example of a self-closing tag which may be useful when creating a HTML website. And that is the line break tag, or the break tag. And what this does is basically, let's just say in the middle of our paragraph here, we want to all of a sudden go to a new line. Okay, so we want I want to on the top line and learn to code, or and learn coding on the bottom line. Now, if we do put a space here or a new line in the HTML code, you can see nothing happens. And of course, that's because HTML does not recognize new lines inside of the text editor. Okay, so if we do a new line here, basically when it compiles it and reads the code, everything here is on one single line for it. So what we need to do is add the break tag, and to do that, I can just go opening bracket here, go br slash closing bracket like so. And this right here is going to basically tell the website or tell our computer that at this point here, we want to go onto a new line. And if I click run, you'll see that I want to is on the top line and learned coding is on the second line right here. So there is an example of a self-closing tag, okay? I'm just gonna remove that for now. And one more thing about using images is that we don't only have to use images that are stored locally inside of our files, okay? We can actually use and get images from anywhere on the internet. And the way we can do that is by where it says source here, instead of going background.png, we just enter in the URL for that specific image file that we want. So for example, let's go over to google.com here, and you see we have the Google logo. What we can do is just right click and go copy image address. This is just an example. If you were doing this, you do have to make sure that the images you are using are public domain, or that you do have the appropriate licensing and crediting in order to use those images, okay? So let's just say you have an image that you're allowed to use. You can go back here and replace the source link with that new image link that goes to that specific image. You can click run, and there we go. So it can pretty much get and access any sort of image around the internet and display it on your screen like so. Okay, I'm just going to go back to our background.png right here, and that is images. So in the next lesson, we are going to be looking at lists, okay? And lists are very important for if you want dot points or if you just want to list out various different things. So I'll see you all then in the next lesson. Hey everyone, and welcome back. In this lesson, we are going to be looking at lists inside of HTML. Now, a list are basically a step of procedures to follow or a list of things that you might want to do. Now, in HTML, there are two types of lists. You have an unordered list and an ordered list. An unordered list would be something like a grocery shopping list, okay, where you have a bunch of different things, but they don't need to be done in any specific order. Whereas an ordered list is a list of things that you need to do in a specific order, such as a cooking recipe. Now, with an unordered list, these are basically laid out with dot points, and an ordered list is laid out with sequential numbers. So you've got number 1, number 2, number 3, etc. So let's start off with an unordered list, okay? And here in HTML, I've just set up two headers, a to-do list and a how to surf header, okay? So for the to-do list, we'll set up an unordered list, and for how to surf, we'll set up an ordered list, okay? So first of all, how do we do an unordered list? Well, to begin, we need to create the UL tag. So here I'm going to go UL, and also make sure to go ahead and make the end tag as well. And what I'm going to do is put these on two new lines. And the reason why is because within this tag, we are going to set up our list elements, okay, our list items. And we could do this all on one line, but you know, for sake of looking at this and understanding it, doing each element on different lines is probably the easiest method to do so. Now, as you can see, when I went onto a new line, it automatically indented the cursor, okay? So the cursor automatically went forward 2 spaces, and this is known as indentation. Now, indentation is very important for us to make this as readable as possible. If every single tag was lined up along the left-hand side border, we would look at that and have no understanding of the hierarchy of certain things, the order. So indentation allows us to see which tags are sort of children of other lists, which tags are a part of another list. In our case, we are going to have list items which are basically a part of our unordered list. So how do we create an item for our list? Well, to do that, we need to create the li tag for list item. So here I'm going to go li, make sure to close that off as well right there. And inside of here is where we basically enter in what we want this list item to say. So here I'm going to go sleep like so. And now if I click run, you'll see that here we have a dot point and it says sleep. Okay, we can also then go ahead and add in multiple more elements. So here I'm going to add in another element called eat healthy. And we can then add in another list item as well. And let's just say this one here is going to be learn HTML. Okay, we can click run, and there we go. We have all of our dot points here lined up. And as you can see, it is an unordered list because we don't have numbers here. They're in dot point form. So how do we do an ordered list now? Well, it's pretty much the exact same process, except we don't use the UL tag for the list. Instead, we use the OL tag for ordered list, okay? So let's go ahead and do that right now. So here I'm going to go OL for ordered list. We can then end that off as well right there. Go to a new line, and inside of here, we can then add our list elements just like before. So first of all, how to surf, go to the beach. For the first element, we can then go /li to end that tag off. Create our next tag, could be maybe spot a wave /li to end that off. And finally, we could have another list element that just says paddle. Then we can click run, and you'll see here that unlike our unordered list, the ordered list has numbers, okay? It goes 1, 2, 3, and any other element we'd be adding in would also have numbers going up from 1, okay? So an unordered list, something like a grocery shopping list, or things to buy, any sort of order that isn't necessary. Whereas an ordered list is something that is good for if there is a specific process to follow, okay? And using these in your websites can be there for multiple different purposes, okay? For example, you could also have links. So you could have a to-do list here, but instead of that, you could maybe have resources and then link a number of different things. For a step-by-step process, you could maybe have different pages that refer to different steps of a process. And here you could have sort of like a main directory where you can navigate to each of those individual steps by clicking on these links right here. Just add in the A tag around the contents in here. Basically, you can mix and match these to do whatever you wish. So yeah, that is the concept of lists inside of HTML. In the next lesson, we are going to be looking at forms. So I'll see you all then in the next lesson. Hey everyone, and welcome back. In this lesson, we are going to be looking at forms inside of HTML. Now, a form is one of the ways that we can communicate with the website from us, the client or the user. Now, forms can be used for a number of different things. They can be used for stuff such as search bars, maybe an input where you can enter in your name, age, and then click on like send to database. There's lots of things you can do with forms, lots of back-end stuff as well of communicating with servers, with databases. But for us, we're going to create a simple layout where we can enter in our name and our age and click a button to basically submit it. So to begin, we need to create our form. And to do that, we are going to use the form tag. So here I'm going to go form, and then I'm going to create another closing bracket down here with /form. So for our first form element, let's have our name and then basically have it so that we can type in our name inside of basically a search bar. So here I'm going to go name, space, and then we need to create a new tag known as the input tag. And the input tag is a HTML element where we can input a value, being input some text, inputting a number, inputting a time, a week, a day. Any sort of input that you can give to our website is done through the input tag. So this is a self-closing tag, so I'm going to go input and then / closing bracket like so. Now for the input tag here, it's also good to basically define what type of input this is, and we do that with the type attribute. So here I'm going to go type equals, and this is going to be of type text. So I can click run, and you'll see here that we have name, and then we have an input field here that we can select and type whatever we wish in here. So we can type in our name in this field now, which is great. Now, next up, we want to have an age input field. And this age input field, we don't want to be able to type in letters, okay? We only want to type in numbers. So for this here, I'm going to go new line, go age, and then here I'm going to create the input tag again. Make sure it is a self-closing tag as well. And this is going to be of type number. Okay, we can click run, and you'll see here that we have name and age. Okay, if we go in name, we can type in some text, but in age, we cannot type text. We can only type in numbers, which is really good. And you'll see here that the age input field also has these two little arrows here, which allows us to sequentially add or subtract numbers from the total here, okay, which could be good in some circumstances. Now, one final thing for our form here is going to be a button that we can click to basically save or submit these values. And to do that, I'm going to go down here in our form on a new line, and we don't need some text before the button. We only want the button there. So I'm going to go ahead, create ourselves a new input self-closing tag here. And we need to define two things. First of all, the type being a submit button, and the value, which is basically what text is this button going to have on top of it. So first of all, the type here is going to be equal to submit, which is basically a button that will submit the contents of the form. And we then need a value, which is going to be what the button text is going to display. So in this case, we'll just make it say save. Okay, we can click run, and there we go. We can enter in a name, we can enter in an age, and then click save here. And as you can see, it basically removed these elements here, and that is because this submit button submits it, but right now we don't have any sort of backend to submit this text to, so it basically removes the text here. Whereas, if you're creating a website where you actually want to submit a form, you would connect it up to a server, or you would connect it up to some other sort of code where it would then process this information. Now, one thing that we might want to change is the fact that everything is on one line. And the reason why is because whenever we create an input field, unlike when we do headers or paragraphs, it does not automatically put us on a new line, okay? So in this case, what we want to do is sort of encapsulate each of these elements right here. So the name and the search box, and then the age and the input field, and then the save button. And we sort of want to put each of those on a new line. And to do this, we are going to use a tag called div. And div is one of the most versatile tags that you will use in HTML, and you'll be using it for a wide range of different things. A div tag, basically, you define the opening tag and the closing tag, and all the content of that div tag is going to take up the horizontal space for that line, okay? And that allows us to basically divide up sections of HTML tags and put them all on one line, then get another section of HTML tags and put them on another line. In our case, we want to put the text and the input fields on the same line. Then put these ones on a different line, and then this one on a different line. So, to do this, we need to create the div tag. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to indent name by pressing tab to basically indent it 2 spaces. I'm then going to create the div tag above it here, and then create the closing div tag on the other side here. Okay, we can then click run, and you'll see here that name and the input field is on its own line now. So we can go ahead and do the same thing for age here. So I'm going to create the div tag, and then make sure to close that on the outside of age right here. Hit run, and there we go. And for the sake of this, we're going to do it for input, but as you can see here, we don't need to, although I reckon for consistency in our form, it probably is best practice to go ahead and do that as well. So, create the div here, and create the closing div here. Okay, and there we go. So you can see here that we have each of these elements inside of their own individual div tags. So all the contents inside of this div is going to take up the horizontal space of this line. So to recap, first up, we're creating forms, which is basically a way of us communicating with the website. We can input information such as a name, which is text, an age, which is number, and then click on a submit button, which will then process that information. Now, in order to get each of these elements and sections of our HTML on individual lines, we are using what is known as a div tag. And div basically gets that HTML elements, or a number of different HTML elements, and is sort of a container for them, okay? So this name and the input field here are in its own container displayed on a line. We then have another container right here for the age, and another for the save button. All right, so thanks for watching, and in the next lesson, we'll be looking at more fields inside of forms. So I'll see you all then in the next lesson. Hey everyone, and welcome back. In this lesson, we are going to be looking at a few more different form fields, okay? Some different input types and things that we can have on a form. So right now, we have a name input where we can enter in some text. We have an age input where we can enter in a number. And we have a save button which submits the form. Now, let's just say we want to have a checkbox, okay? So you can either tick it or not tick it. And let's just say this is to check whether or not you are enrolled, okay? So for example, just before we have the save button, I'm going to create a brand new div right here. So /div as well to close that up. And inside of here, we are just going to go create the input tag right here. And we are then going to go is enrolled at the end, okay? Just to see, okay, are you enrolled? Now, inside the input, the attribute we need to give it in order for this input to become a checkbox is to set the type to be equal to checkbox, just like that. We can click run, and as you can see here, we now have a checkbox which says is enrolled. So we can tick that, click save, and it will submit it. Another input field we can have is a text area, okay? So right now we have a text sort of field right here where we can enter in a name. But what if you want to have a resizable text area where you can enter in a lot more text than just one single line? Well, for that, we're going to create a text area. So I'm going to create a new div right here. So /div. And inside of here, we are just going to create the text area tag. So here I'll go text area, close that off, and then also create a closing text area tag as well. Click run, and there we go. We have a text area here where we can enter in pretty much whatever we wish. We can create new lines, add more text there. We can even click and drag to resize the box. So if we do want to maybe, copy and paste in some paragraphs, paste in some pretty much whatever sort of text you wish, okay? So what if we want to make something required, okay? Let's just say we have a form here that the user needs to fill out, and we require them to have certain properties here filled in, okay? So right now we have no name, no age, and we click save. That's going to submit it, okay? But what if we want, or what if we require there to be a name and an age? Well, in that case, we can add the required attribute. And to do that, we'll go up here where we have the input name right here, and I'm just going to add in a new attribute, and that is just going to be required. Okay, just type required like so. We can do the same for age here as well. Hit run, and now it looks exactly the same, but let's click on the save button and you'll see it pops up saying please fill in this field, okay? And only once we fill in the field, we can click save again. Oh, we need to fill in an age as well. Hit save, and there we go. It then submits it once we fill in the required fields. And you may notice that this required field doesn't have an equals anything to it, and that is because this is just a true or false attribute pretty much, okay? If we add the attribute here, the computer is going to go, okay, this field is required. It's unlike a type, because with type, if we were just to write type, it would go, okay, but what type? We have to define a specific type for this to be, whereas with required, that's pretty black and white. This is a required field, or this is not a required field if we don't have it in there. Another useful attribute could also be down here in the checkbox. Let's just say by default, we want to have a checkbox enabled. Okay, we want to be ticked by default. Well, for that, we can just add in the checked attribute here. And when we run the page, you'll see that is enrolled is checked by default. We can, of course, uncheck that if we wish or check it again. But that is just how we can have it checked automatically. Okay, so that is a quick look at some extra sort of form fields and form attributes that we can include. In the next lesson, we are going to continue on looking at select inside of forms. So, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next lesson. Welcome back, everyone. In this lesson, we are going to continue looking at our forms here. So far, I've created a number of different fields and inputs here, so we can enter in a name, an age, checkbox, and a text area, as well as a submit button down here. Now what we're going to look at is something known as a select tag, and these are basically your drop-down boxes where you can select something from a list. So let's go ahead and create that now. Okay, so just above our save button right here, I'm going to create ourselves a new div. So adding in the opening and closing div tags right here. Inside of here, what we're going to do is create the select tag. But before that, let's just add a little prefix to that. So a sort of little prefix name, such as name and age. And for this, I'm just going to make it color. So we're going to be basically displaying colors here that we can choose from a list. And then I'm going to create ourselves a brand new select tag here. Make sure to also add in the closing tag. And this is similar to lists in a way. We have the opening and closing sort of parent tags here. And then inside of here, we have basically a new tag or a new line for each of the individual elements that we can choose. So for this, we're going to create an option tag here, /option. And this is going to basically be one of the possibilities in selecting from this drop down. So for colors, let's just say we have red. We can then create another option here, not opt group, option. We could have red, we could have blue. Okay, and then maybe we can have one more, and this one here could maybe be green. Okay, so we have 3 different options right there. If we click on the run button, you'll see that we now have the color drop down here. By default, it is on red since that is the first one. So we can click on the drop down here and choose red, blue, or green. Okay, we can simply click on it like so, and now the color is green. Okay, but what if we don't want red to be the default color? Well, in that case, we can give one of these options here a selected attribute. So let's just say we want green to be the default selected one. So we can give it the selected attribute like so. Okay, run that. And as you can see, by default, the color is green. Okay, so that is done by adding in the selected attribute to whatever option here that we want selected by default. Now, let's just say we also want a list where we can select multiple things, okay? Because right now we have our color selection that we can only choose one color at a time. We can choose green, red, or blue. But what if we want a sort of selection where we can choose multiple things at once? Okay, maybe we're choosing from a list of a couple things to select. Well, in that case, we can create ourselves a brand new selection dropdown. So here, I'm going to create ourselves a new div under here, /div for the closing. This one here is going to be countries. And just like before, we create our select opening tag here and our select closing tag. And we create our various different options as well. So I'll create an option here called Australia. We can do /option. I'm just going to copy and paste this line here to make it a bit easier on us. So I'm going to add in 3 more here. We can then have another one. We can have USA. We can have England. And then we can have another country here. Let's just say we have France. Okay, so we have 4 countries here. If we run it just like before, it's your typical drop down. We can choose Australia, USA, England, or France. But what if we want to choose multiple? Well, in that case, what we need to do is in the select opening tag here, we need to add the multiple attribute. So here we'll go multiple. Now, if we run this, you'll see that the drop down is a bit different, okay? It's open by default, and we can select multiple different things by holding down the shift key, okay? We hold down shift, we can select multiple things. We can also hold down control to select multiple things here, where the difference between those two is that if I click on Australia, hold down shift and click on France, you'll see it selects everything in between. Whereas if I click on Australia, hold down control or command on a Mac and click France, it only selects the ones we are selecting pretty much. Okay, so you can select various different ones here. You can also click and drag to select them as well. And this is just a way of, selecting multiple things from a list. Let's also then maybe make England the default selected one as well. We can do that, of course, with multiple attributes. So I can go selected on England here. And you'll see that if I run this, England is selected by default as well. Okay, and we can also, since we do have multiple selections with this one, we can add the selected tag to multiple ones. So we can go USA and England are selected, hit run, and there we go. These two are selected by default. So that is how we can set up selections, drop-down menus inside of our HTML websites and forms here. In the next lesson, we are going to be having a look at tables inside of HTML. Okay, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next lesson. Hey everyone, and welcome back. In this lesson, we are going to be looking at tables. Now, tables can be very useful in HTML as they allow you to basically display information in a structured format. Okay, think of spreadsheets where you can have rows, columns, and headers to basically display information. That's basically what a table is. Now, it's important to note that we don't use tables for layouts of your website. That used to be the go-to method, but nowadays we have CSS, which allows us to create style sheets and basically structure our website that way. Okay, so to begin with tables, what we're going to do is, of course, create the table tag. So for this, I'm going to create a new tag called table here. And we also need to create the closing tab as well. Now, the way tables work in HTML is that we have rows and we then have data in those rows. So basically cells in that row. Okay, so we first of all have to define a table row. And to do that, we create the tr tag right here. So I'll create the closing tr tag here. And then inside of this table row, we create our table data pretty much. We create the cells of this table. So let's just say we want 3 cells across and maybe we want Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Well, for that, we'll go TD for table data And here we can give a name to this cell or give content to this cell. So in here, I'm going to go Monday, close that out with TD, and then create another one here. We'll call this one Tuesday, close that out. And finally, create another one here and call that Wednesday. Now, if we go ahead and click on the run button, you'll see that we have created a table. We have Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, okay? But it doesn't really look like a table. It just looks like we've been laying out text horizontally. Well, now what we can do is start putting data into this table, creating more rows, and it will automatically align it so that we have the cells lined up with each other. And I'll show you what I mean. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to copy this table row and its table data children here. I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste it below like so with Control C and Control V, or Command C, Command V if you're on a Mac. So for this second row here, we're going to have some data. So let's just say we have 1, 22, and 33. Okay, we click run and you'll see here that this text is now automatically aligned to the cells, to the rows. So we have this sort of structured table data. We can go ahead, do the exact same thing, create another row here, go 1, 22, 33 here, run that. And as you can see, it lays it out like so. So we're creating our individual rows, and then inside of each row, we are specifying first of all, how many cells there are. In our case, we have 3 cells, and then we are putting data in each of those cells. What's a good idea is to have table headers, and these table headers are generally used for the top cells, just so they sort of stand out from the rest. So what we can do is instead of going TD, we can go TH. Okay, so I'm just going to copy and paste and replace these ones right here to be TH for table header. And if I run this, you'll see that Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday are bold. Okay, they're the table headers. And along with this, it might not be the easiest thing to understand the structure of this table. So generally when working with tables, a good idea is to be able to see the border of the table. And to do this, we can go up to our table here and add in the border attribute. And this is basically going to allow us to see the border. Okay, we can hit run. And as you can see here, we now have the table border. We can see where each of the cells are, and you can see that the cells resize to fit the largest element. You can see Monday is about the size of that text, but Wednesday here is larger than Monday and Tuesday. And if the numbers here were larger, they would also expand the cells, okay? So these are dynamically sized cells that can change based on the content they hold. So that is just a quick look at tables inside of HTML. They can be very useful for displaying information. If you have data that you want to display on your website, that's a great idea. In the next lesson, we are going to be looking at how we can begin to structure our HTML websites. Okay, so I'll see you all then in the next lesson. Hey everyone, and welcome back. In this lesson, we are going to look at the structure of HTML and how a website's page is set up. So the way we've been doing it so far is just by typing in our tags in a basic empty document, okay, and then displaying it on screen here. Well, the general structure and the way that it is done on the web is a bit different. It does contain this code here, but there is a few extra things we have to add just to make it a bit easier for the website to know sort of what language to have, what to call the website, the icon, and so on. So what we're going to do here is we are going to add in some more tags. First of all, we have to define the document type up at the top. So I'm going to go opening bracket here, exclamation mark, doc type in capital letters, and then space, HTML in lowercase letters. Okay, that's just the standard. This is how we define that this is a HTML document. We then need to create the HTML opening and closing tags. So here we're going to go HTML and then do a closing HTML tag here. And this is where our website is going to be contained. Everything is going to be inside of these 2 HTML tags right here. And a website is divided up into a couple different areas, okay? First of all, we have the header, and then we have the body. The head isn't necessarily where we put in tags to display on our website, but it is where we input information for the web page to know, okay? And I'll show you what I mean. So here we are going to do head, and then do the closing head tag here. And inside of these two tags is where we can define stuff such as the title, for example. And the title is what the name of the tab is called, okay, pretty much. So when you open up the tab, for example, on this website here, we have repl.it dash our project name. So here we're going to create a title tag and make sure to close it off. And in here is where we can enter the name for the title. So for example, I'm going to call this one, this is a page. And what we can then do is also create the body. And the body is basically where we put the contents of our HTML website in. So here I'm going to create the body tag underneath where we create the head, do /body here. And in between these two tags is where we can copy and paste our website. Okay, I'm going to tab in here so it is nice and lined up, indented there. We can click run and it looks pretty much the exact same. But if we open this up in a new tab, what you'll see is that if we look at the top of the screen, our tab is called This is a Page. Okay, we've changed the name of the title. So what else can we do in the head? Well, something we can also do is input a specific char set, a character set, okay? And this is useful for if you have characters from different languages that you might want to use, okay? So it's very useful and generally the best practice. So what we're going to do is create a meta tag, okay? And we are going to give it an attribute of char set for character set. And the character set we're going to give it is UTF-8. Okay, and we can close it off like that. Now you notice that we aren't giving this a self-closing tag. And the reason why is because the meta tag, it works a bit differently. This is just the way it is set up. Now, another meta tag we can do is the website's description. When you Google something on Google, you'll see that each website has a sort of description or a little bit of text that explains, what it is about or what you're going to find on the website. Well, we can do the same here. I'm going to create a new meta tag, and this time we're going to give it two attributes. First, we'll give it a name attribute, and this name is going to be description, okay? So we are setting the description here. We can then go content equals, and then we can basically give it a description. So for example, I'll just go, this is what Google will show, okay? This is the text that Google will show when you look up our website. Finally, we have one more, and that is the icon. As you can see here on repl.it, they have their custom icon at the left corner of the tab, and we can do the exact same thing. So in the course files for this course, you can find the favicon, and I'm going to import it right here. So I'm going to click on these three dots, upload file, navigate to the fav icon right here. This is an icon file type as well, and these can be created online. So you can create your PNGs, upload this to a website, and then it can generate the icon files for you. And then what we're going to do is create a brand new link tag here, and we are going to go rel equals icon. So we are wanting to change the icon right here, and we need to then give it a link. And just like with the a tag or the link tag, we are going to go href equals, and we need to give it the file. So here we'll go favicon.ico, okay, and close that off like so. Okay, so we can hit run, we can then open this up in a new tab. Now we don't actually see the new icon displayed up here, and I think the reason why is because since we are running this through repl.it, it may have, some sort of problems with displaying custom icons in the browser. But if this is a HTML file that you're loading up from a server or from your home computer, you should see that icon up here in the top left corner. So, in summary, there is more to your website than just the body here, okay? Than just the visual elements of your header tags, your paragraph tags, your image tags, okay? There's a lot of metadata and backend information that you can give a web page, such as, of course, the title, so the name of the tab pretty much, the character set, the description, and the icon. And there are many more that you can research about, but these are basically the general ones that every web page has. We also went over how to structure your HTML web page with defining the doc type, putting in the HTML tags, defining the header here, and then defining the body. So from now on, whenever you're creating content on your website, you do it inside of the body tag here. Okay, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next lesson. Welcome back, everyone. In this lesson, we are going to be looking at a number of different online resources, online websites, that can be used to expand your learning experience, to expand your knowledge on HTML and CSS. So here, first of all, we have the Mozilla Developer Network, okay? You can go developer.mozilla.org and it will take you to this website here. Now, this is a great resource for if you want to know which tags have which attributes, all the different tags. Maybe there is a tag or a certain aspect of HTML that you want to expand your knowledge on. You can go to this website here and learn just that. Okay, so let's just say we want to know what attributes can we use with the A tag, the link tag. Well, we can go to the search bar up here and type in that tag. We can then hit enter and it is going to bring up a search result right here. We can click on the A tag just down here and this is going to show us, okay, how can we use it, some examples, and if we scroll down, it is going to show us a list of all the attributes that we can use as well as basically a description of what they are. So the Mozilla Developer Network is very useful for if you want to expand your knowledge on the various different tags, the various different aspects of HTML. There is also another great website called caniuse.com, and this is really good for knowing which HTML features are available or are supported on specific platforms, okay? Because there are a number of different web browsers and platforms out there, each of them supporting different new things at one time, okay? So an example is input date right here, which is just a input field where we can enter in a date. And you'll see here that we have a list of various different web browsers and their support status. So as you can see, Firefox has partial support for input date, whereas Google Chrome right here has supported. And you can basically see, okay, this web browser has not supported this, or this web browser is in the process of supporting this, or the web browser already has it supported. So this is really great for if you are thinking of adding in a newer feature to your website. It's good to check here. Another great resource is html5hive.org. This is a website here at Zenva, which makes available a large number of HTML and web development related blogs and courses for you to look at. We also have a free ebook on HTML and CSS, which you can check out, as well as some free courses if you want to expand your knowledge. All right, so another class to accompany this Zenva blog is the Zenva YouTube channel, and we have a large number of different playlists that you can view on the playlist tab. You can then click on created playlists, and we have a large number also on web development, HTML, CSS, and the lot. So they're always here available if you want to check them out. Now, another website which you do need to take with some caution is W3 Schools. Now, W3 Schools is a great website if you do want to know, okay, what does this tag do? How do I use this tag? But they're not always standard compliant, okay? If you do want the most up-to-date standards, you can go to the Mozilla Developer Network over here, although W3 Schools is always a great choice if you just want to look at, okay, what does the H2 tag do? What does the title tag do? Okay, you can go here for a good example and a good demonstration of what it does so you can implement it into your very own website. Okay, so that is just a look at a few different websites, a few different online resources for you to use in your web development journey. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next lesson.